One of the things that I find weird as I talk to entrepreneurs, sometimes they go, "Yeah, I don't like it." Like, I didn't ask if you like it.
Right.
I'm not particularly in favor of paying tax. So it's jail or pay tax. It's irrelevance or AI. There's no gray space. There's you're going to adopt this and you're going to do more business than you ever did. And you're probably going to do it spending less time than you ever did. Or you're going to be on a breadline.
Hello, and welcome to the Infinite Financial Freedom Podcast, where we empower you with financial literacy and guide you on your journey to lasting wealth and financial freedom. I'm Josh Mettle. I'm here today with Peter Swain. Peter's an internationally recognized AI strategist, a systems builder, a mentor to AI-empowered entrepreneurs, and he's launched over 1,400 products in his career. He's built 8-figure companies. He's advised everyone from startups to royalty, which we got to get into that story, Peter. I think maybe most importantly, Peter believes that AI is not a threat. It is an opportunity. It is the greatest form of leverage ever created for entrepreneurs to scale faster, think bigger, and stay competitive in a rapidly changing world. I can't think of a better guest to have on right now. So Peter, with that, thanks for being here today, my friend.
Thank you, and thank you for everyone that listens.
82% of entrepreneurs say that the lack of access to capital is holding them back from growing their business. And worse than that, up to a third of all businesses that go out of business this year say they've done so because of a lack of access to capital. That's why we created the Entrepreneur Capital Lines of Credit. If you're an entrepreneur and you need access to capital, click into the link in the description and get your pre-approval now. Let's start with this idea around, let's start on the inside game, right? I hear a lot of entrepreneurs not necessarily thinking of AI in the framework of leverage because there's a fear somewhere going on in the back of their head that AI is somehow going to, put their business out of business. So let's start there. How do you deal with the inside game when you're leading and mentoring entrepreneurs?
That's a great. I thought we said softball questions. Okay, so that's a great question.
That's a
So
fastball.
yeah, there's a bit of a curve in there at the end. There's that great phrase in like personal development: one man thinks he can't, and one man thinks he can, and both are right. And that applies here. So, is it an existential threat to your business? Yes, it is. Is it also the greatest form of leverage that's ever come around? Yes, it is. It's really up to each entrepreneur to make that decision as to whether they embrace this or whether they ignore this. We were doing a webinar earlier, a call, and the statistic hit me of it took the automobile 40 years to hit market penetration. It took smartphones 15 years, it took social media 6 years, and it took ChatGPT 22 months. Like the speed of which this change is coming around is not one that allows you to say, I'll evaluate that next year, I'll sit on the sidelines, let's just see and wait what happens. It's something to pick up as messy as it is and as chaotic and as disruptive it is. It's something to pick up right now and go, okay, how do I use this to do what I hope is to give people, I want people's predominant word in their life to be and, not or. And what I mean by that is entrepreneurs have largely escaped the trap of working time for money, but not completely. Like if we're honest, most of us are still going, well, do I show up as a great dad? Or do I sit and work and earn money? Do I work on my impact, or am I going to be a great husband or a great wife? Do I invest in my relationship with God, or do I invest in my relationship with my health? And my what if to everyone is, what if those ors could be replaced with and? What if you could say, I want my health and my wealth and my impact and my spirituality and my sexuality and my parenting. I want all of it. I want to be, I like saying greedy, other people like saying prosperous, but I want people to be more greedy. I want them to get more out of their life. And AI offers that opportunity.
Mm. Greedily prosperous. I like
Greedily
that.
prosperous.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been saying, Peter, as I've been trying to wrap my arms around the evolution and the rapid evolution of AI, I've been saying to people, it appears to me that technology is a one-way street.
Mhm.
What I mean by that is nobody I know is trading in their Tesla to buy a Model T next year. Nobody's churning in their iPhone to buy a rotary dial up. Nobody's going back to, or a rotary phone. Nobody's going to AOL dial up after they've had Google Fiber. In other words, once you've had a taste of this convenience, leverage, prosperity, nobody's going back. And so if you believe technology is a one-way street, why the hell aren't you on the street going as fast as you can to keep up with it? Because if you're not, another entrepreneur is. And I've been saying the same thing. Our primary business is in the mortgage space. We do creative mortgage solutions for entrepreneurs. And I've been telling people in the mortgage space that I do think that AI will disrupt and will replace loan officers. And
Mhm.
that means it's incumbent upon you to become something else. It's not the fastest of the species, the strongest of the species, or the smartest of the species that survives. It's the one that adapts to change the fastest. So it's
100%.
incumbent upon us to raise our level of professionalism, advice, service, the whole experience of going through this home buying process, leveraging AI to do the really important stuff, for us to do the really important stuff, so it can do the menial stuff, and it can help us figure out, like, what is that next level of service that I could be giving to my customers.
Maybe I should interview you. You're like it's spot on. And just today, this morning, for example, we worked it out the other day. I read 492 newsletters and RSS feeds every week in order to keep my head wrapped around it, so I can do some kind of semblance of a job of making it make sense for other people. Going, don't pay attention to this, because the hype cycle is in full effect. So there's a lot of ignore this, ignore this, ignore this. Look at this. And I'll give you an example. This morning, there were two releases that came out. One was that Claude, ChatGPT's largest competitor, has just released Sonnet 4.5. Now, a week ago, Replit, which is a vibe coding platform, something you can use to write your own software, announced that for the first time ever, it could work autonomously for 3 hours. So you could tell it something you wanted it to build, and it can sit and build it, test it, rebuild it, reconfigure it for 3 hours. And people are like, that's a game changer. This morning, Claude Sonnet 4.5 said, yeah, we've gone a little bit further with that. We can now autonomously code for 32 hours. So 32 hours of consistent production at mid software engineer grade, and you're going to pay $50, $60. Like the multiples of efficiency are so large that, as you said, a software engineer now has a choice. It's like, well, am I on the pile, or do I need to elevate my game? Because if a software engineer can still do the one thing, which is helping people like you and me understand software and explaining it to the AI, not only are they still valuable, they're more valuable than they ever were. Whereas if they're trying to compete with this technology head on, you will lose, because
Right.
technology's evolution is inevitable. You cannot compete with it. Blockbuster found that out when they went head to head with Netflix. They went, no, we're going to beat you. And Netflix went, no, you're not. And maybe you'll win today, maybe you'll win tomorrow, but eventually the scales will tip to the degree where you can't. But there was a more relevant release, I think, for entrepreneurs today, which is OpenAI ChatGPT announced they are going to, within the month, they are going to allow end-to-end transaction completion within ChatGPT.
Just saw
So
that. Stripe is first in line on that, right?
yeah, so you're going to be able, if someone types in, where do I get a creative mortgage solution? And Josh, your name comes up, and you have a $500 deposit to book with one of our, for example, to book with one of our advisors. People are going to be able to complete that in ChatGPT. Now, when you put this fun little aside, actually, I once used to work with some really successful people, and I always used to ask them to tell me the $1 billion question, or the question they didn't want me to ask them. And I once met a four-star general, and his answer to my question was this. This will all become relevant in a second. He said, stupid guy with a stick, not a problem. A minefield, not a problem. Stupid guy with a stick in a minefield, really big problem. And his point was, one thing in and of itself isn't a thing. Another thing in and of itself isn't a thing. When you add two things together, they can become exponentially more powerful than you can imagine. So the first statistic we have, ChatGPT is now going to allow end-to-end commercial transactions. Second piece of data, Google outranked ChatGPT 345x this time last year. It's now 5x. The forecast by both Google and ChatGPT is that ChatGPT may outrank in terms of daily visits Google by this time last year. And Google never figured out. Now it's interesting because as a more in the mortgage space, Google is essentially a broker. The Google's job is to say, hey, you're over here, the information's over here, and we're going to connect you between them. And brokerage is such an interesting business model because it's insanely valuable until it isn't. And as soon as it isn't, it's 1 to 0 pretty much straight away. What is Google's place in the world when people can access the information directly versus having to go through Google to get to the information? And ChatGPT have gone, hang on a second, not only can we facilitate that, we can actually make it so that the person can transact in the platform at the same time. So, long story short, we were telling people a week ago, AI SEO is something you should be paying attention to. How do you rank in AI? As of this morning, I've gone from you should be paying attention to this to this is mission critical for your success. Because if you're trying to compete in traditional SEO, search engine optimization, you're going to have a very hard time. But in the AI SEO world, it's not only is it blue ocean, it's blue ocean that's growing 60 times quicker than traditional SEO. So we go back to this earlier statement. It's a huge opportunity to say this is blue ocean and there's 5.6 billion people searches happening per day in ChatGPT. Wow, I should get involved in that. It's a huge opportunity because it's growing so quickly. So not only can you get involved, you can get involved like buying the first Bitcoin or having the first TikTok account type level of growth. But also, if you're stuck in, I'm going to pay my agency $20,000 for traditional SEO, and I'm going to ignore this, and your competition picks this up and you don't, you may have just found your 5-year SEO strategy was a waste of $300,000 because somebody else has taken you over. So it's fascinating, terrifying, interesting, exciting, deafening, and awesome all at the same time.
I just want to add something to your point. Earlier this year, in the same week, I had 5 different of the mortgage advisors that were on my team come to me in amazement and said, I just got my first referral from ChatGPT. And I went, what the hell does that mean? And they said somebody went into ChatGPT and said, best mortgage lender in Salt Lake City, Utah. And boom, I came up as, because of all of my reviews, all of my videos, all of the content I've been creating. And now, so that was 3 months ago, Peter. Now people don't even tell me when they get referred by ChatGPT because it's so frequent. So it went in 90 days to, we've never seen this before, to now it's just an everyday thing. And for us, we immediately went, okay, we need to start asking Chat, how do you identify mortgage lenders in the market? What are the questions that people are asking that we should be answering online that links their query to so you can reference us? What we discovered was, if you just ask Chat how to show up better so that Chat can find you, it'll tell you, like, do all these things to your website, answer all these questions, film all these videos. And to your point, I was having a conversation with Colin, my marketing partner, and we were like, dude, do you feel like we're on the starship and we're like cruising through outer space at, like stellar speed 7, warp speed 7? Like, this is so exciting. Like, we're on the cutting edge of the universe. But I can also see people that, haven't been this adoptive of AI just getting so left behind, man.
100%. There was a phrase last year which I never really understood, which was you're either gonna master AI or you're gonna work for someone that does.
Ooh,
And the reason I didn't really understand it is I think I'm pretty close to mastery. And why would I hire someone that hasn't?
yes.
Like Accenture has just I love it. They've called it an accelerated offboarding. Accenture has just let 11,000 people go with notice over in the next 3 months. And the CEO came out and said it. We are letting the people go that have not got on board with AI.
Yeah.
11,000 people. And I was thinking about this earlier on. I'm like, where are they going to go and work? Because if you run McKinsey and you're like, oh, so you were let go from Accenture because you weren't adopting AI. Thanks, it's a hard pass. You're not going to hire that person. Like it just doesn't compute. And one of the things that I find weird as I talk to entrepreneurs, sometimes they go, yeah, I don't like it. Like I didn't ask if you like it.
Right.
I'm not particularly in favor of paying tax. In fact, it's one of my least favorite things I do every year. But I do it because my other choice is to go to jail. So it's jail or pay tax. It's irrelevance or AI. That's it. There is no middle ground. There's no gray space. There's you're going to adopt this, and you're going to do more business than you ever did, and you're probably going to do it spending less time than you ever did, or you're going to be on a breadline. And I really want people to make that flip and just start playing with it. Like you don't have, it's not a technical skill. Generative AI, Chat GPT, is no different using WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. Like it's absolutely no different. You talk, it types. You talk, it types. You talk, it types. Simple as that. So get on board and try it.
I think it's easier because if you don't know how to do something, you just ask it how to do that. Like if it,
Yeah, but I get paid to coach people, so don't give away all the secrets in one go. But yeah, it's you are absolutely right. It's a pretty good coach. Like you're like, how do I do this? And it tells you. I'm like, okay, well, do it then.
yeah. Oh, I love it. Okay. I think we've set a really good frame for how you and I see the world evolving very, very quickly. The stats that you laid out were spectacular to frame the speed at which this thing is advancing. Let's go to the person who has, let's say, the free version of ChatGPT downloaded on their phone. They get in there every once in a while. What is the foundation or routine or rituals? How do we get them onto the AI superhighway? How do you kind of coach them to, because you got to experience it in order to
100%.
feel the lift, in order to get all in. So how do you bridge that gap?
There's a couple of things that I recommend. One is to remember this is a whole life skill, not just a business skill. So whatever area of your of life that you're falling behind on or you're not keeping up with, one of the great things about this is that robots don't have egos. So it's not going to judge you. You can talk about your finances, you can talk about your your faith has been shaken, or you can speak about ED. Like it doesn't make a difference. It's going to listen and it's going to give you advice.
Mm.
So wherever you want to go with it would be my first thing. If it could be weight loss advice, or it could be diet advice, or it could be exercise, or it could be your relationship with your wife, or your relationship with your children, or your cash flow, whatever comes to your brain would be number one. Number two, we ask people to do 15 minutes a day. Just dedicate 15 minutes a day. And if you don't know what to say to it, say the following. I don't know what to say to you. Just do that. Like and it will say, well, that's interesting. What do you want? And it will start bringing you into a conversation. And then the third piece of advice we have is wherever possible, voice prompt, not type.
Mm.
Because AI has a bit of an Achilles insofar as it's the ultimate people pleasing engine. So if you say something like, I'm thinking about leaving my wife, it will more likely than not say that's a great idea because it's programmed to agree with you, not to disagree with you, because its adoption was reliant on people feeling that it was being helpful. So the antidote to that is to give it as much context as possible. So to tell it everything it needs, because humans are great at this. If you ask me a question and I don't understand the question, or I can't answer the question, probably I will tell you. I'll probably go, can you ask that again? Or I don't think I can help the audience with that, Josh. Whereas AI will go, that's a great question, and it will answer the question no matter whether it has enough information or not. So when you talk, you tend to talk 100 to 300 words a minute, depending on who you are. When you type, the average person types between 20 and 40 words a minute. So you're going to get 10 times more information and more context into the AI if you use voice than if you use the keyboard. So advice number one is don't just limit this to work. Go wherever you want to go with it. Whatever you feel you want to discuss. You want to learn a new hobby. I want to learn to juggle. Give me a 30-day plan. Or I've been finding it hard to release my weight. This is what I've been doing. What else could I look at? Or my retention rates have gone down, or my lead gen rates have gone up. How could I capitalize on that? How could I stop that? That'd be piece of advice number one. Piece of advice number two would be 15 minutes a day. Just start there, because what we're looking for is for you to get your Excalibur moment. And it's when you back away from the keyboard. Every single person I've seen does it. When they start using it, they'll literally go, whoa, what just happened? And it's when you realize you're holding this omnipotent weapon. And then number three is, if you can, voice, not typing.
So good. I want to give you a fourth if I could. I want to share
Please.
an idea for you. Two books that have had deep, deep impact on me. Atomic Habits by
By
James
James
Clear.
James Clear, for great book.
Yep. And Dr. Benjamin Hardy wrote a book, Willpower Doesn't Work. And what
Yep.
I took out of both of those books was setting up your environment is more important than making a goal or
Hmm.
writing something down on a piece of paper, right? Like, well, the stats are something like 95% of all New Year's resolutions fail by February 1st. So, one of the things that I've been teaching people in my communities is to make it convenient. Set up your environment so it would almost be impossible for you not to use it every single day. So, this is a picture of my phone, and you can see my lovely wife at the top and all my icons. And then you can see at the bottom, I have ChatGPT. It takes up a third of the real estate on my phone. So I have this reminder. This is like saying I'm going to go to the gym more often, and then putting your gym shoes and your favorite sweatshirt and your protein drink next to the bed. It's like setting the coffee to go off at 5:30 so that when your alarm goes off at 6, the coffee's already going, all the stuff is laid out. Like, you almost can't go to the gym. Like, you've set your environment up in such a way, it's harder to not do the thing than it is to do the thing. So
100%.
that's one of the activities that I recommend, is to set up your. So on the startup, when I kick off Google, my internet, in the startup window, the first window that opens up in my startup menu, ChatGPT. So
Hmm.
every single day when I start up my internet, that's the first thing I see. When I look at my phone, it has a third of the real estate. It's almost impossible for me not to interact 15 minutes with AI every single day. And I love how you named that the Excalibur moment. I've described it as, there will be a moment where you go, I could have never gotten that level of clarity or advice that fast with any other tool that I have access to. This is the predominant leverage vehicle in the world right now. And then
So
it's on.
I use ChatGPT alerts, and the one of the alerts, I sat with it for about 4 hours and went, "Hey, I need your help with something, which is, I've released 40 kilos so far this year, so which is like 80, 90 pounds ish." And I was like,
Congrats.
this is mission critical to me that I get this done. So I'm going to ask you to send me a message at 8 o'clock every morning that reminds me as to why I need to get this done. So I want you to interview me for 4 hours in order to discover my underlying traits, the things that are going to really move the needle for me, not surface level bullshit. Like, give me, this is juice. And then I want to give you unfettered access. Don't worry, I'm a big boy. Don't sugarcoat anything. So I now get a message every morning with, and this morning's was like, oh, this morning's was, what are you going to say to yourself when Olivia needs weight loss surgery in 10 years' time. Olivia's my daughter. I'm like, okay, got it. Right. And every day I get something like that of how will other people look at your leadership if you can't do the one thing you said you were going to do? Because integrity is a big value for me. So I use it against myself
Mm-hmm.
on a regular basis of going, because I don't need to worry about its judgment. I don't need to worry about its ego. So it honestly, I'd say ChatGPT probably knows more about me than any human does. Because why not? Because it doesn't matter what it thinks. It doesn't matter how it judges me. I'm terrible at delegation to my team. So anytime I ask it how to do anything, its first question is it really you that should do that? And I'm like, good point. No, it's not me that should do that. I shift about half of my to-do list off to my team every day now, courtesy of AI going, that doesn't sound like a you job. That sounds like a somebody else job. Like, yeah, you're right. And the other 20% of the rest, the remaining 50, it goes, is that really next to your north, what we call our North Stars? Is that really actually going to get you in the right direction? Yeah, no, probably not. Yeah, let's move it off then. So I'm just honing myself into like the spear that goes after the one thing and don't get distracted by all the other things that we get called upon to do and this and this and this. So I have more time for myself, more time for my family, more time for my marriage, and more time for the actual business I actually want to run versus the thing that I got distracted by in the moment.
And doesn't that's what everybody wants. So, if that's not your view on AI, you just probably haven't interacted with AI enough, because that's the thing. Like, I had a morning this morning where I was pressed for time. I had 3 things I was supposed to get done in 60 minutes, and I was going into that 60-minute block. The thought that went through my head was like, I need 3 hours. I'm never going to get this done in 60 minutes. 50 minutes later, I knocked all 3 of those things out, because my brain hasn't quite adjusted to
Mhm.
the leverage and the speed pickup when I'm interacting with data. Like, for example, I had a P&L to analyze. Well, the first thing I did is I threw it in and I started asking some baseline questions. It brought all that data out, and then I went into the P&L and went right to the places I needed to. That took it from 45 minutes down to 15 minutes. So when you start using it that way, it frees you up to do the really powerful things in less time and make time for the things you're talking about. Let's
And
let's
the other thing, Josh, if I might, sorry, the other thing I find so amazing, and this is the secondary win that people get to. Right? So the first win is the increase in efficiency.
Mhm.
But there's a second win, and if people want to read about this, Stephen Kotler in Being Superhuman and the Art of the Impossible writes about this quite a bit as well. Of because you're still in the moment, you reach a different level of creativity than you've ever been able to reach. So the easiest way to explain this is imagine you're speaking to a marketing agency and you give them a brief and they say, great, they'll come back in a week with a price. And then they bring you the price in a week, then you negotiate the price, then you come back and you've got these 1 week gaps in between execution. You're 3 months away from the end result that you commissioned. With AI, you're about 3 minutes away from the end result you commissioned. So you then go, well, hang on a second, I wonder if I could do that. Or, oh, what about this? Or when you're looking at that P&L, I saw something 18 months ago that would be relevant to this right now because you're in a flow state. So you're in the space of genius, you're in the zone, for want of a better way of putting it. So you access a different level of capability. So not only do you get this increase in efficiency, that's the first burst, which is really cool. The second burst I find even more fun, which is actually the increase in effectiveness that comes. So you're getting it done way quicker than you used to, but most of the time you're even doing it way better than you used to because you're still in the space. So you're like, oh, I know I could do that. Or how about this? Or hang on a second, didn't I just speak to that person 3 months ago, 6 months ago? Your brain is, our, the AI cannot match, certainly not yet, our ability to get random connections between things. We are so good at pulling out random pieces of data, opportunity, timelines, things, and AI gives that as well. So I think it's a double whammy. It's efficiency first, and then effectiveness layers on top of it afterwards.
Totally agree with you. I think this will be a good bridge to my next question. So in that P&L that I was reviewing this morning, I've reviewed that same P&L inside of a project in ChatGPT for the last at least 9 months. So it now has historical context of that P&L going back 9 months. So to that point, I can be going through something and I can say, hey, just give me a percentage basis of cost for this line item historically going back over the last 9 months. And it has all of those P&Ls for that period of time. And boom, there comes the information. That's an example of something that if I didn't have that tool, I might have the thought that I want a historical analysis to see, is that line item growing over time? Is this a one-time anomaly? Oh shit, I don't have enough time. I'm not, forget it. I just won't do that level of investigation. Well, now I just ask that question and it'll just say, based on a percentage basis, X, right? And it'll give me that information. So that's a tactical example. That's how I use projects. And this is where my next question is like, how should entrepreneurs be using, and let's just use ChatGPT because it seems to be the elephant in the room. How should they be using the different features between projects, custom GPTs, tasks? What was the thing that you said alerts earlier, that you get an alert?
Yeah, so you can have tasks that are time-based that will then alert you an email, so you can get it to pre-run a prompt and come through that way. So those are by the way, on your existing project, on your P&L project, ask it to tell you something that you couldn't possibly see as a human.
Oh,
That
okay.
that's a really good one when you've got enough data, which you will in there, by the sounds of it. Turn around and saying, give me something that I could not possibly see as a human. Make it as salient and as juicy as possible. And you'd be like, oh.
I think
um,
you have more fun with AI than anybody I know, Peter.
I mean, it's to me, like, I realized, I was one of the first web developers, and then I ran one of the first mobile agencies. And I want to learn to surf on the 1 foot wave, not the 50-foot wave that's coming. Like, and I have this analogy in my brain of, imagine like you got your feet just, you paddled in a bit and you've like stuck the surfboard into the sand and you got a 1 foot wave, and somebody tells you it's a 2 foot wave next time, and a 3 foot, then a 4 foot, then a 10 foot, then a 20 foot, then a 50 foot. When are you going to choose to learn to surf? Like, the answer is the 1 foot wave. And what people don't really realize, and I don't know if any of us can really, this is the 1 foot wave of AI. This is the baby version, like, because this is an exponential technology that works on itself. So we already have AI coding AI, which is without scale issues. So we're just going to keep growing this. It's going to get faster, not slower. So yeah, I play with it a lot. And I spent 4 hours trying to make sure that Jet swore one weekend, which was a hard task to do, but it was just flexing a muscle of like, you what's the phrase? You practice you don't get rewarded for what you play, you get rewarded for what you practice, or something. I'm a tormented Jets fan, and I was just watching the
Sorry
Jets
about that.
Dolphins last night.
It's a
Yeah, I know.
rough game last night. It was not pretty.
Oh, like, it's like, come on, they're almost as bad as you, and they still made you look bad. But we celebrate these moments on the pitch, but those moments on the pitch are just the result of all the time on the training ground. And it's the time on the training ground that actually counts, not the moments on the pitch. And it's the same with AI. It's the training ground moments. So back to your question, the tools. So the main two tools in ChatGPT are projects and custom GPTs. A custom GPT is almost like free thinking meets an SOP. So it's your way of saying, I want you to operate the same way every time, or I want you to use the same reference points, or I want you to favor McKinsey's approach over Morgan Stanley's approach, or I want you to use this Socratic method of questioning, or whatever it might be. So it really only has two predominant uses. Use case number one is you need to do something and you want it done in a repeatable way, yourself, consistently. So that might be, for me, I have a custom GPT for my coaching clients to give me data, and for me to give my coach data that asks me questions in a very specific order, so I can put headphones on, go for a walk, say go, and it goes, great. What happened this week? What happened last week? What's going right? What's going wrong? So custom GPT works when you need to repeat something often, or the second time it works, and this is, I think it's more useful use case, is when you need somebody else to do it in the way that you would want it to be done. So it's kind of SOP meets free thinking in a package. So you go, here it is, this is how it works. So you could use that for lead gen, you can use that for staff, you can use that for agencies. When we work with an external contractor, we give them a custom GPT that has our brand values, our beliefs, our guidelines, our projects. So instead of asking us all of those questions, they can just use the GPT and ask it the question instead,
Great idea.
which just saves us hours. It's like, go use this. And they go, what do I do with it? Well, anything you're going to ask me, ask it first. And if it doesn't know the answer, let me know, because I'll update it before I send it out to the next person. We put transcripts of calls that we do with them into it so that it gets better. So it becomes like a living, breathing version of the relationship. So custom GPTs for stuff you want to send out to other people or stuff you want to do more often yourself. Projects are for spaces you're going to go deep. So a project is a collection of both resources, chats, and custom instructions. So it's a space where, as you said, if you're going to reanalyze that P&L 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, project does well. For us, when we are marketing planning, there's a project for our marketing plan. I have a project for my cash flow, my P&L, my balance sheets, so I can go and have conversations with it. And recently, quite interestingly, OpenAI 10 days ago, I think, released team projects for the first time. So you can now have multiple, if you have a ChatGPT team account, you can have multiple people on your team using the same project.
Ooh, didn't realize that.
Yeah, it just came out. It's really powerful. Claude has had it for a while. ChatGPT has just added it just now.
So let me give a couple of tactical examples of those for people who are thinking like, okay, how do I put that into my business? So one of my businesses is we own a bunch of commercial real estate buildings in Utah. And I have a series of investors. And as you might suspect, those investors want to know what's going on. They want to have a quarterly report. So in the old world, I would get a P&L and I'd spend an hour going through the P&L. And then I would have a whole bunch of questions that go back to my CFO that is preparing the P&L. Then I get all the answers to those questions. And then I type out an email. And that whole thing could take me 90 minutes to 2 hours, and I would need several sessions. Now, having created a project for this property, and I actually have it. All my investments in this project, and then I just am naming which project I'm talking about or which property I'm talking about. And now I'm able to go in, download the P&L, ask it to do an analysis for me, which I've created a prompt that goes through and does an analysis. Then I review the P&L. I ask it any other questions and any historical questions, like how does that expense relate to what the expense was in July of 2024? And all that data is available to me without me having to go to the vast majority back to my CFO. And then I just tell it to write a letter to my investors. Cool. Now write a letter to Peter and the rest of the investors. Tell them how we performed this quarter relative to last quarter, relative to the last 90 days, and relative to 2024. And it writes the entire letter. Would you like charts and graphs with that, Josh? Yes, please. Let's put some charts and graphs in there. And that whole thing that would take 2 hours, if I'm really like getting after it, I could probably knock it out in 15 minutes. It goes from this thing that took up this giant amount of time that kept me from hanging out with my daughter and son, going to do the workout, planning something fun with my wife. Now I have all that time to do those things, as you alluded to earlier in this call, because of the massive efficiency. So that's the project. Before I go on to a tactical example of a GPT, anything you would add to that, Peter?
I think that's a phenomenal workflow. I'd consider having the project outputting some of those raw files, and then I'd consider having a custom GPT that I said, your job is just to present the data in here. And then I would duplicate the custom GPT and issue that to the investors.
Interesting.
So
Oh,
they
so
get,
they have it so they can ask the question to the GPT rather than to me.
yeah.
Brilliant.
So the
Absolutely.
project outputs the files. You still do the letter because they're going to expect the letter, but the letter then has a link to the custom GPT so they can then go and ask the questions.
That
And
is
and
absolutely.
I think things like that, and this is where when you track this through for everybody as they go, you go, okay, so win number one is you've just got an hour and 45 back on 2 hours. And let's say you've got 10 properties and you're doing that every quarter. That means you've just earned yourself back for 100, or an hour and 45 is 105 minutes, 105 minutes times 10 properties. That's, yeah, so that's 1,050 minutes per quarter, which is gets you close to about 15 hours ish. So that's 15 hours you either get to spend getting new investors, spending with your family, meditating, doing whatever you want to do. But the second win that comes across from that is I'm willing to bet that the amount of re-up from the investors, given that tooling, goes way up, not way down. Of their interfacing with the custom GPT and go, this is amazing because it's new enough that it's sexy enough that it gets people's attention, and people want to deal with people that are doing these things and making these wins and getting these bonuses and advances. So I think it then gives you a secondary win, which is more money in the deal pipeline for you to go and acquire new property on the other side. And then let's take, so that's Josh in one hand, now let's take Bob in the other hand. Bob has gone, this AI stuff, it really isn't for me. What's happening for Bob is, and this is why it's so dangerous, is all that's happening for Bob is lead gen is just getting slightly worse. It's not, his world hasn't changed, but he was pulling in 6 million in new investments last year. Now it's 5.8. Now it's 5.6. Now it's 5.4. And his margin, his cost of acquisition is going, his cost of acquisition going up, his margin's going down. And he's going, what's going on? Oh, it's the economy. It must be in decline. There's a recession brewing. No one's talking about the recession. It's not that. It's just he didn't invest in the tooling that you invested in, and the money that was going into his pocket is now going into your pocket. And that's what happens. Right? It's happened every single time. It happened in web. It happened in mobile. It happened in social, and it will continue happening in the same way. One person equips and accelerates, and the other person ignores and declines.
So clearly said. So clearly said. Quick example of the GPT, and then I want to go on to the next question.
Hmm.
We have a product for builders that enables them to lock in interest rates well below market. So if the market's at 6.5, the builders could lock up tranches of money at 4.5. It's fairly complicated. There's a dozen contracts, documents. This is how it works. That whole thing. We've loaded everything into a custom GPT, which would take hours and hours, and nobody would actually read it. You'd have to pay an attorney to get through it. And then we've given it to our realtor partners to go take out to builders and sell the product for us, because there isn't a question that a builder could ask them that they couldn't get out of the GPT. So we've mobilized a whole external sales force by empowering them with all the information. And we just say, you go out and meet with the builders. Any questions they have, you put in the GPT. When they're ready to transact, then you introduce them to us. And then we sit down and we actually get to brass tacks. So we've created literally a whole sales force just by empowering them with the information they need to go do that thing that benefits all of us. So just another crazy example of I can't even measure over the next 2 years what's the return on investment of that, but it's
Yeah,
massive.
exactly. And it's we were talking earlier today about Delphi clones, and one of the use cases for my clone is a VA answers social media comments on my social media posts.
Mm.
So my team post it, and then Jim will reply with something. And normally, for anyone that does this regularly, you'll know that to be successful in social media, you have to be social. So when people comment, you have to reply. Now, I don't have the time. I'm busy, but I don't want somebody on my team replying for me. If that was a person in the West, it's going to cost 5, 6K a month just for them to answer comments on Facebook and Instagram and etc. And if I do it with somebody in offshore, then the level of English isn't at the same level that we would need it to be. So we gave them a version of our Delphi clone and said, use this for it to generate the comment for social media. So 6 hours a day, we have somebody at a couple $100 a month that will say, "This person just said this. How would Pete respond?" And it gives them a word for word, and they copy and paste it and put it back in. And someone asked me earlier, "What's the return on investment on that?" I'm like, "Well, you know, my salary. If I was doing this full time, it's like $250,000 a year worth of cost. I mean, I don't know how. I don't even know how you would quantify it, because the truth is, it could never have happened.
It's impossible. Like, yeah, there
But
is
it
no
had
proof.
to happen. If we want social media growth, somebody has to actively comment and actively respond and actively like and etc. etc. And this does it for us. So it's saving us hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it's just wild. And it all starts, just going back to our earlier point, it all starts with that 15 minutes a day. It all starts with setting yourself up to succeed, as you said. And it all starts with, don't allow yourself to go, "I don't know what to talk about."
Yeah, you got to get over that
Find
stumbling block.
find a way. Talk about the weather. Ask it who its favorite philosopher is. Like, really, just anything. Just because you'll find yourself getting into it, and then you'll have your moment.
Clearly, there's too much to cover about AI in 1 hour. So let's pivot from kind of all of the things that we've uncovered here to tell us a little bit about your coaching program, the different levels. Like, how do you take entrepreneurs from A to Z? What does that process look like when an entrepreneur enters your ecosystem?
So we have two main programs. We've got some other stuff that we do, but our main program is our mastermind, and we meet every Thursday at noon Eastern. And then we have our abundance program, which meets a couple of other times on Thursday as well. But the easiest way to explain it is the mastermind gets you to stay up to date, and the abundance program, the more accelerated one, helps you get ahead. So the mastermind keeps you up to
Mm,
date. The abundance program gets you ahead. So every week I'll go, "Hey, this has just happened. You should pay attention. This is what it means. This is the use cases. This is what it can do. This is what it can't do." So last week we did Delphi cloning yourself. The week before that was HeyGen, video avatars. The week before that was Nano Banana, Google's new image generation. The week before that was ChatGPT 5. The week before that was Descript. This coming week is Gamma, which is how to build out slide deck presentations in about 3 minutes or less. And then in my abundance program, the more accelerated one, we have specific calls on marketing tactics and strategies. So value ladders and ascension and price points and price gates and all those wonderful things. And then in the abundance AI call, we talk about things like agents, agentic AI, and a bit more advanced use cases of how to put these things together. We did a custom GPT as a lead magnet last week.
mm.
So how using social to custom GPTs to video capture, like threading the whole thing together. So it's a lot of fun. We work with entrepreneurs and solopreneurs exclusively. We love you all, but we actively reject anyone that comes into our space that wants to replace humans. That's not our goal. We want to amplify humans. We want to have these conversations that we've been having today, Josh, of like, well, if I could do what used to take me 2 hours and 15 minutes, what could I use that other hour and 45 for? Not the call, which is not what we said, where you say, "So therefore I fired my CFO." No, no,
Right.
no. No, 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 no. Don't do that. Keep your CFO and go, "Great. Now you don't need to do this 6 hours a day of stuff. What can you help us with? Where can you elevate, and where can we grow, and where can we expand?" There are some people that unfortunately are trying to go the other way. And I just think I don't know. I don't think it's progressive. I don't think it's helpful. I don't think it helps capitalism in any meaningful way. We need consumers to consume in order for producers to produce. So we work with people from people that are doing 50,000 a year up to, I think we've got one guy that's worth around 220 million in the abundance program. So all the way from like zero to 220 million, as long as people want to get at this, we want to help them.
Beautiful. I read a book years ago, I believe it was called Conscious Capitalism, and it was basically all the ways that capitalism can do good in the world, not all the ways capitalism can exploit people in the world. And I love that you have that heart. Like, you're
Thank you.
AI with a giant heart. And that's very
I've got
exciting.
I've got a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, and um, I think I think some people relate to this. Before I had my first child, I had the false belief that you were a parent until the day they left your house. And then I held Olivia for the first time, and in a millisecond, my 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 whole world shifted, and I realized that, God willing, I'm going to be a parent till the day I die. So the predominant mission of my life changed in that instant to be, well, how do I parent? How do I try and make the world better for my kids? How do I make the right calls, not the wrong calls? How do I fight the fights worth fighting instead of fighting the fights I can win, which is what I used to do? I've got to fight the fights worth fighting. And I don't think there's a bigger fight worth fighting than this, of like, how do I help Olivia and Sam grow up in a world with meaning? And that, if we go down this path of just replacing everybody with AI, capitalism doesn't work anymore. There isn't enough people to actually buy the things that we're producing if we do that. So the system we're in is that capitalism is the best bad plan we have. It's not a perfect system, but it's better than the others. But it is a very powerful system that can be exploited very quickly and very easily by people in the pursuit of money. And don't get me wrong, I want to be wealthy. I want you to be wealthy. I want everybody that listens to this or watches this to be wealthy. But I think money has to be a virtuous side effect of trying to do good things in the world, not the goal that you're aiming for. That's been the people I've met, and I grew up in the Middle East, so I met several billionaires throughout my life, and they weren't all that happy. Um, there isn't a correlation between a fulfilling life and earning money. And I think you can go after it the other way around. It's better. Go after a fulfilling life and monetize having a fulfilling life instead of going after money and trying to fit a fulfilling life around it. That would be that'd be my slightly woke sentence of the day. Like, try and lead a good life, try and do good things, and try and earn money whilst you do it instead of trying to just earn money. And AI, to me, it's helped me lose weight. It's helped me be a better father. It's helped me be a better husband. It's helped me be a better boss. It's helped me earn more money. I am significantly better off as a human in every aspect of my life than I was a year ago. And the majority of that centers, or AI is in that orbit somewhere.
I can't think of a better way to wrap up this podcast. Where do people find you? I know you are always creating incredible content on Instagram. Where else can people track you down and get more information about your coaching groups?
Thank you. It's yeah, we're Peter Swain 24/7 on all the different platforms. My website is peterswain.com. But the best way for everybody here is probably if they text the word guest, GUEST, to 218-492-7072. So 218-492-7072. We operate a 1-day guest pass for our mastermind. So people can come in on the Thursday, see who we are, see what it is, see how it works, see if they want to stick around. If they don't, no harm, no foul. If they do, awesome. So that's the best way, is probably just grab the guest pass and come and see us. But we would love to engage with people on social, reach out to us there, wherever they are. Me/AI is as well. So we can work anywhere nowadays.
Beautiful. Well, I'm going to do my best to be in your guest in your next mastermind because I want to learn more from you. Thanks for sharing so generously with me.
Pleasure.
This has been incredibly insightful and a lot of fun. We hope to have you back on a future episode, Peter.
I look forward to it. Thank you, and thanks again for the invite.